Welcome to the big show. It is Wednesday, and unfortunately, we don't have Jay Lee just yet. I'm sure he'll be here, but
He
he's
will
running
be here
on
eventually.
Pacific Islander time, apparently, or something.
Yeah.
Um,
He's on that CPT time.
yeah, he hasn't
Yeah.
had the daylight saving time yet, so
Day right, shy
no
right.
more daylight.
Day right.
We're gonna kick this off the right way,
Econ.
and we're gonna have you watch the breaking news. Okay, watch the breaking news brought forth by a certain individual by the name of Sabastian Gorka. In case y'all don't know who Sabastian Gorka is, he was a part of Trump's cabinet for like the first year and a half, and still a staunch Trump supporter. So here he is. Listen carefully to what he says. See if it gives any clues.
For everybody to know, he's chosen his vice president. It isn't.
Do you know who it is?
Yes, I do. It's not Vivek.
I do too.
It's nobody that anybody's discussing. It is a superb choice. Has nothing to do with identity politics. He's a patriot. He's a good guy. And also, he would be the first vice president who would really bring something to the table, who could be given stuff to do on behalf of the president. I'm not talking about, Dick Cheney, who actually ran things while, his boss was buying a new pair of cowboy boots. I'm talking about a vice president who actually implements stuff for the boss. We've been texting every day, and I want him to announce on my show.
You can confirm.
Yes, I let that earlier. So it is a he. It is a he. It is a he. I'll talk to you.
I'll tell you who I thought it was.
I'll talk to you in the break. Stan.
All right.
Very, very interesting.
He's saying it's a he, so we know any of the female pics are out,
Yeah.
according to him.
Which is good. We don't need one. I don't want a female VP or anyone in charge for female. I really don't, because that just be pandering. There's none. I'm telling you now, there are no, I would say, dependable female candidates out there on the Republican side. None.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to go after someone like Tulsi Gabbard for me to even say, okay, that might be a fair pick.
Which is a fair
It is.
pick.
It's pretty
I like
fair.
her.
She's,
I like Tulsi.
um,
I mean, I kind of like Carrie Lake too.
Yeah,
See,
but
it
I
would be
would-
Tulsi or Carrie Lake, one of the two.
I would prefer Kerry's focus on saving Arizona.
Yeah.
The same way I prefer DeSantis to stick to saving Florida. Because here's what we're going to need. We're going to need ground game people in these states.
Mm.
The more of them try to run from it because they want to run for president, the less impact we're going to have and the less reach we'll have. I just would prefer that they not be in the presidential race at all right now.
Indeed.
It doesn't make sense.
It's very interesting, his description of this individual. He was like, he doesn't buy into identity politics. So off the top, that's just about every major, not all of them, every major conservative or Republican that I can think of. Because like I said before in the last show, conservatives, us on the right, usually don't play in identity politics. So it's kind of vague, you know what I mean? But I think I have an idea. I don't think it's a conservative.
What does he have to say?
Let me just ask you a follow-up on that about who would be in your cabinet, in your administration. If you are the nominee, which I know you expect to be, who would be in the running for vice president?
Well, I can't tell you that really. I mean, I know who it's going to be.
Give us a hint.
We'll do another show sometime.
Well, what about any of the people who you've run against? Would you be open to mending fences with any of them?
I will. I've already started like Christie better.
You know why, right?
Christie for vice president?
Yeah.
I don't see it. That would be an upset. Christie for vice president. Ladies and
Oh.
gentlemen, I'd like to announce.
That'd be funny.
I'd like to announce tons of fun for vice president.
You see, now that
Jim
thought
Jordan.
had crossed my mind.
Nah.
But here's the problem with that, if that were the case. Like I say, if you keep taking them away from positions that they can have some influence, you'll have no influence at all.
Yes.
It would have to be somebody who has currently not and this might sound bad, who's currently not doing anything, but can do something if they're put in the right place. That's what I would think it's somebody like.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Marlon. You know, you don't want to remove like the heavy hitters to me that are in Congress and the Senate. Matt Gaetz, you know, leave Matt Gaetz where he's at. You want some of those people that Byron, what's his, you know, Byron, the big
Johnson,
black dude,
yeah,
Byron Johnson. Leave people
Byron
like
Johnson,
that in there. You know what I mean? Those are the pushers. Those are the movers. Those are the ones that speak the truth.
Now Ben, I could see it being Ben, but I don't think it's going to be Ben.
Well, this is what he says about it. So I wanted to show this clip.
This is also one of the reasons President Trump is doing so well in the polls. Has President Trump contacted you to be his VP?
I don't want to talk about what we've talked about, but we've talked about what can we do to save this country, and that we will work together to make sure that America remains America. There's so many things that are going on right now. You know, compromising the DOJ, using it to injure your opponents politically. These are things that occur in China and Russia and Cuba. Those are not things that are supposed to occur in this country. And we should be alarmed, and I think the American people are alarmed.
Do you see more support from the black community for President Trump?
Absolutely. I used to go to places and be the only black face. Not anymore, not by a long shot. And I think people are starting to recognize that the Trump administration was on the side of Black America. The things that they enacted were extremely positive. The opportunity zones, HBCU support, all of these things were fantastic. And I think he's going to have a...
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, you know,
I'm not going to talk about what we talked about. That's the phrasing.
I like. Why not? Tell me, please, chat. Why we'll continue. I want to see what you say.
Okay, I'll give my 2 cents on why I think it would be a bad choice. I mean, he's a good and bad choice. Like, there's a lot of good things about Ben Carson that are positives, but I will say this: his only other experience is being HUD secretary, HUD housing, right? It will come across from a PR perspective as pandering, as he's playing identity politics on certain people. That's the way it's going to come across, regardless of what he does. If he picks somebody who's black, I'm sorry, it's just going to come across that way. That and Ben Carson is a doughboy. He's soft.
No, he's not. Okay, this is where I'm gonna push back on you on this one.
Yeah,
Man,
Marlon,
I don't mean like soft as in like soft policies. I'm talking about soft spoken. He's too.
And that's what. That's his power. That's his power play. Did you not see him on The View?
I've seen him go off.
Did you not see what he did to The View?
Maybe I haven't seen that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, to me, he
OMG,
seems
bro.
soft.
Okay.
I've seen him.
Do you know how they can be belligerent, right?
Mm-hmm.
This man went on The View, and when I tell you, he made them look stupid.
Foolish.
I mean, stupid to the point where they couldn't say nothing, and he did it like this, just nice and smooth. But in the anime world, he was pulling a complete Naruto. On them. They were done, and they had nothing. They didn't piss them off. They didn't piss him off. He didn't react. He was just playing with them the whole time and insulted them to their face without they didn't know what to do. Like they couldn't make sense of it because they were getting smacked, but they couldn't smack back because they would come across like the bully. He look, trust me, Ben from the street. Okay, it's the quiet ones you got to watch out for.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just saying he comes across that way.
Here's what we can't play it, but while we're doing this, look up his interaction with The View.
Okay, I need to find that clip. Then
it was from while he was the HUD secretary.
Okay,
he embarrassed him.
I mean, I'm a fan of Carson. I always have been, and I can agree with Coy to a point where I think being a little too soft-spoken sometimes can get, you can be attacked a lot more. And, I think you got to be a heavy hitter when you go into a position like that. He's smart. He's a genius, and he can dissect you with words like a ninja. But I think when it comes to him running, they're going to shift their focus from Trump, and they're going to go after Ben, and they're going to find, and they're just going to. shift, and I just wonder how much of that
That's
he
good.
can actually
Oh,
take.
he can. I think he can.
I'm not saying he can't. I
That's
said
why
I'm
think it's
wondering.
good. That's why I think it's good. If they take the focus off of Trump, guess what? Trump doesn't have to deal with no more people.
That's true.
And the way, okay, I think The View was, when I tell you this interview was the best example of how he handles critics. You have to see the interaction, because the way he deals with it, he separates his emotions completely and just sticks to the facts as smooth as he could. And he stayed the course, and they were all over the place, and he was just like this. And that's what pissed them off, because they never could get him to sway. They couldn't get him to react. They couldn't get into his skin. They were pissed off at the fact that they couldn't get him to budge. And that's what made it perfect, because you can't irritate somebody who's not irritable.
That's true.
You see, you can get under Trump's skin a little bit, but you can't get on. I've yet to see anybody get under that man's skin. That's saying a lot. And there's some tons of places out there you can try, but no one's done it yet.
And that's very true. And another thing with Ben is, what are they going to find on him? You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to find on him? Because the minute anybody runs, they're looking for skeletons in the closet. I think he might just have a clean, like a very clean slate. Maybe little stuff when he was a kid, he might have did something that every kid does, but as an adult, going through college and being a brain surgeon and being in politics, like, what did they have on him? The only thing I have to disagree with that kind of made me cringe a little bit was the identity politics part she played in there. I'm not a huge fan of the Black community, as if we're some separate entity from everyone else. It's one community in our country, and that's the way she should have worded it, and that should have been the way Ben Carson, I think, should have answered it. There is no such thing as a Black community. We are Americans. We are one. We are all in this together. We are one community.
I'm going to take the chance. And play it, because I think it's essential. If he is a pick, this is how you would handle conflict. This is how we
can get away with it. Commentary in between.
We've sort of gotten from the research is that you sort of feel that there is not actually a war on women, but
her and I have the same hair
on inside of women. Is that accurate?
Yeah, the babies. I mean, we're killing babies all over the place.
Look at all these women's looks, especially Raven Simone on the right. They are all clearly most likely pro-choice, yet when Ben Carson states the fact that we're killing babies all over the place, as in aborting them, they looked shocked and speechless.
And, we should be, I think people can probably understand. In my case, I spent my entire career trying to preserve life and give people quality of life, even operating on babies in the womb, operating all night long sometimes on premature babies. And I get to meet those people, when they're adults and productive adults. There is no way you can convince me that they're not important, that they're just a mass of cells so that you can do anything.
I want to ask you this. Have you met with the women who have to make these horrendous decisions when they have to make them, of whether or not they can bring a child into the world? I mean, we talk about bringing children into the world all the time, but periodically some women feel, I just can't. And are you empathetic to them? Because we just had empathetic. Oh, good.
So this is
now, mind you, see,
I hate that argument, by the way.
You see how she got into her fields right away, right?
Yeah, in the feelings.
But you see his face? Did you see his face? Yeah. He's smiling because he's got an answer for it long before she brought it up. He's not allowing her to dictate the discussion. He already has the answer, and he's letting her completely run herself into the ground.
What happens when you have the woman of the View talk to one of the most distinguished doctors in the world? Remember, Ben Carson is a doctor, or more specifically, a neurosurgeon. I may be reading Whoopi wrong here, but she seems to be playing an emotional argument against one of the greatest doctors in history. Now, instead of Whoopi taking on Ben Carson's argument of him saying there is no way that's just a bundle of cells, no, that's actually a baby, which means you can't kill it, Whoopi steers towards an emotional argument of, do you have any empathy for the people who have to make decisions to kill their baby? To which Dr. Carson responds accordingly.
Go ahead, sorry.
Very empathetic. And what I have said is that this is a job for us in the private sector. What we need to do is make sure that we provide adequate daycare centers for these mothers so that they can get their GED, their associate's
But
degree,
wait,
their
wait, you're
bachelor's
assuming
degree, their
that these are
master's
mothers
degree.
who aren't educated. I mean,
Well,
I'm talking about
I'm
women
talking about
who make
most
that.
of them.
I don't know that you can.
Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you a fact. Let me tell you a fact. The fact is, a lot of those young girls who are having babies out of wedlock, when they have that
We're not
first
talking about
baby,
them,
they
actually.
stop their education, and that child is 4 times as likely to grow up in poverty. We, as a society, have an obligation to do what's necessary to stop that cycle from occurring.
Did you notice the reeks from the
You see that, right? You see what he did?
Yep.
You see how this is why I say he's a good pick. The way they like to flip the script on people, he didn't allow the script to get flipped.
Yeah.
You ask me a question, bam, here's my answer. And they want to go on the no. The answer was this, your question was that. You want to go on your own tangent, feel free to go. He let them run, and he just comes right back to the point. And I think that's what you have to do with these people anymore. You can't allow them to dictate the narrative.
Yeah.
If they ask you a stupid question, you either give them a smart answer or answer with something just as stupid, but you answer the question. If any other VP, I think you'd see, even with people like Vivek would have tackled it on a, how should I put this? A showy kind of answer and response. Ben Carson is not about show. He's not about fanfare. This is the fact. This is my statement. If you don't like it, too bad for you, but this is my answer.
This is reality.
Yeah, it'll shut them down.
Okay.
That's
I mean,
true.
I can see where you're coming from with Ben Carson's seriousness versus Donald Trump's bravado.
Yeah,
Would
and
be
I think it's a good blend. It's a good blend. Because here's a case. If they do go after Ben, can you imagine the backup he got with that pit bull?
Oh yeah.
If they even remotely attack Ben, here's the advantage of having a Negro in your corner. If they go after Ben, Trump has the open door to tell him, why are you being this way against a man of color?
Ooh, yeah.
Because you have to use their logic against
and Trump will. You see, Ben won't, but Trump will, which
Yeah.
is the best blend there is to have. You have the one that's all mouth and the one that's all brain. Pinky in the brain. It's Pinky in the brain is what this is. This is Pinky in the brain. This is Pinky in the brain.
Well,
I mean,
you're
not wrong.
We don't want them to act like Pinky in the brain. Okay.
No. But they're gonna take over the world.
Like I said, I think you're right. I mean, like I said, he comes across as soft, but when you compare it and contrast it to Donald Trump, it might be a good pick. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you from the perspective of most people in a PR way, that's what it's going to come across as. But it's also the same reason why Tim Scott's never going to be VP.
No.
And this clip is exactly why. By the way, get ready for cringe. Just so
Okay,
you know.
cringe it is.
Make sure the volume's a little bit.
It better not be too cringe.
Did you
I can
ever
only take
think
so much.
that she actually appointed you, Tim? And think of it, appointed, and you're the senator of his state, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you.
No, that's why he's a great politician. Did you ever think
Yeah,
that?
cringe.
Yeah. That
Told you that was like this alone right here when he comes up and he's just like, eh. That's the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life. A grown ass man to do. Dude,
that was a little cringe.
You made him go, what the fuck, dude? You made Donald Trump go, what the fuck?
Trump had to. Why is he here?
Yeah, that was a
All
little
I did
cringe.
was mention you.
Yeah, that was a little cringy.
Why are you coming up to? Okay, let him talk. I guess.
It was a surprise on Donald Trump's face, like, whoa, hey man, whoa,
Hey, whoa,
what are you doing there, man?
You're my bubble, man. You're my bubble.
I wouldn't pick Tim for this one reason, right?
Yeah.
I don't trust Tim fully yet.
No.
There's something off about Tim.
Yeah.
That there's something just I'm not saying he's a bad man or he has ill intent. There's something just not right about Tim.
I believe Tim Scott is on the spectrum. That's just my opinion.
I could see that, but it's something more than that. This is it's a policy. Like, I don't trust him to push the policy the way Trump would want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see
don't trust him.
Carson doing that though. I see Carson pushing the policies and pushing Trump's, his vision of where he wants the country to go. I see Tim Scott becoming a Mike Pence at the end of the day.
That's what I think too. Yeah. Same thing with Vivek.
And the reason Vivek's not going to be VP is the same reason.
And to Joyce's point about Trump has a bad record, I think she said about picking. Understand that Trump didn't pick Pence. The establishment
did.
They threw Pence in there to keep him.
In order for them to back Trump, they said you will take Pence and you have our backing, and that's why Trump picked Pence.
Worst decision he could have ever made.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, and half the picks that he was recommended probably from the establishment via Pence.
Can you imagine? Just run this down the rabbit hole. Can you imagine if he actually picked who he wanted and it came down to what happened in 2020? Man alive. That to me is what that's the crazy part to all of this, is that we had the Constitution on our side, the law on our side, and one man who took a coin just like Judas did this nonsense.
That's right.
Damn, that's crazy. I'm not calling for people out there, I'm not calling Trump Jesus. Okay, so I don't want to hear nobody trying to make that reference as, oh, he said Trump is like Jesus. I didn't say nothing like that. All I said is that Mr. Pence took money like Judas. That's all I said. So okay, I want to make sure I clarify that.
Well, no, I mean,
lies to me.
Trump might not be Jesus, but Pence is definitely a Judas.
It's definitely a Judas, yeah. So I don't want nobody saying I'm calling Trump Jesus. That's not what I'm saying, please.
Yeah.
But if it is his pick, it's going to be an interesting one.
Honestly, Trump really has nothing to lose. Picking, he could pick who he wants. What are they going to do about it? What are they going to do about it? Why? I don't understand why you need the Republican Party, the Bro Club, backing in order to run for president. You know what I mean? If Trump gets the electoral and gets the votes, that's it. Who he picks as vice president is between him and that guy. But of course, the establishment wants their hands in it. They have to put their person in there to keep tabs on the president. Exactly what it is.
Someone said that Trump's we're dealing with a smarter Trump now. I agree with that because I think he's finally seen the inside workings of how the guts of this nonsense works.
Yeah,
and he no longer is willing to work with rhinos or Democrats. He has no desire to do that, and I think that's a good thing. Again, because if you are looking at it from the establishment point of view, it is a very bad thing to try and placate to them. However, if you keep your focus on the fact that the people want something, you're not going to listen to it, regardless of how. This is how he's handling it right now. So whether or not they want him to win in the primaries, it's not. He doesn't even care. He's just doing what he's got to do, and whenever he gets the nomination, he gets a nomination. He doesn't care anymore, which is good.
Yeah. And here's also the other reason why Tim Scott won is John Cornyn. I can never pronounce his last name. Anyway, Cornyn. There it goes. Is calling for Tim Scott to be Trump's VP pick.
I think if the president would pick Tim Scott as vice president, I think that would be a really good ticket. But I think you're right. There needs to be outside after a primary. There needs to be a broader appeal than just the primary voters. You can't win with just your own base.
Do you think that it's time for Nikki Haley to drop out?
Well, I'll leave that up to her. But Trump is in a commanding position in South Carolina. I think, for all practical purposes, the primary is over. She's done better than anybody in the history of South Carolina. She has a lot to be proud of. But her assessment last night of President Trump, I don't think would be widely shared in South Carolina.
That's also another reason why she's never going to be the VP either.
Oh, after what she said too.
Oh yeah.
You see, the difference is Trump is not like Biden. Okay. If you burn that bridge, guess what happened to that bridge? Ain't nobody building it back.
It's gone. Yeah,
that's right.
He letting that sucker completely just go to ash. He's not going to help. That's why he poked fun at Chris Christie. He said, "Well, I like him more now because he's out."
Yep, he doesn't stand a chance.
Okay, nobody going to deal with Haley. Okay, here's the thing: Haley would want to start war because that's what she does. She's a warmonger. She'll do what the establishment does. She'll just be she'll be a female brown-colored Joe Biden.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she's a dictator pretty much when she talked about social media, how everyone needs to register with their ID, and that's on every platform. We need to know who everyone is that is posting, and all this other stuff. That's some dictator stuff right there.
Right. Here's somebody we're not talking about either, Kash Patel.
Don't even know who that is.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. Kash Patel, it was one of the
Nobody.
people that he worked in the
I remember the name.
in Trump's administration. He was one of his DOJ people. That's what it was. He would probably be an AG if he's going to be picked as anything.
I could see that.
But Kash Patel has been one of the most loyal people to Trump and his campaign for over the years. And not a lot of people know who he is. So that might come out of left field. I don't know. For those of you who don't know who he is, look him up, see what he's all about. But he's on our side. That's all I'll say on that. It's that Kash Patel is kind of one of those out of left field type of people. If we're not talking about certain people, if it's not Ben Carson, the only other person I can think of on his team is going to be Kash Patel.
Well, he definitely is. He's pushing it.
I honestly think it's going to be someone that people aren't even going to expect. Honestly think.
But who do we know in the circle of unexpected people who would he pick from? Because my mind's drawing a blank, honestly. Because I can't either.
But we also know it's not going to be RFK now.
No,
because
he already said that. He said he was approached.
Yeah, he was approached twice now, and this is what they're doing with the Trump campaign. He's already coming after RFK for as an opponent now. Like he's not saving his face anymore. So that's gonna be the other reason why it won't be Kennedy, because they're already going after him for the presidential run.
Mm-hmm. I doubt it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
It'll be very interesting to say the least. But there is one other thing that I want us to consider, and it is something I think we ought to talk about on the Rumble show too. And it has to do with the case with the individual that decapitated his father.
Yeah.
Now, remember, I told you, there's a guy that decapitated his father who was he says he's a Republican or a conservative or whatever.
Anon.
A lot of people are calling it a false flag.
Okay, it's exactly what it is. And I guarantee you, they're going to use that to show that their viewpoint about people on the right is not only are they dangerous to democracy, they're dangerous to people in general.
Yeah,
and we cannot risk having them have a say in the presidency.
In elections. Yeah,
and this happened recently, right?
Yeah.
This is the one where they try to say the guy was an anon. On all
he
this
was a
other
Q
stuff.
guy. Yeah.
So, like you said, this is another way for them to say anybody who follows anons are crazy, and this is what they're doing. So don't believe anything they're saying about what's going on, what's happening within the government. And like you said, it's a false flag. It's another scare tactic, just like they did with the infamous, January 6, 2021. It's the same concept.
Right, and you have to look at that case as being this guy attacked his own father. I don't think it has anything to do with political ideology, other than the fact that he has certain beliefs or that his father was a Fed. That's probably as far as I go. I'm sure there's other sociopathic reasons why he beheaded his father, and psychological reasons, which really stem from basically any serial killer out there. If you look, they always kill their parents first before moving on. If it was an actual political ideological hit, they would go for somebody else, somebody they don't know, a random figure, because it would be easier, whereas sociopaths go after family first.
Except they really did harp on the fact that he was trying to talk about Joe.
Yeah.
You see, and the instant they do that, they have, for the last 2 years, they've been trying to brand anyone with conservative leanings insane. Because you believed something was rigged, or you believe that the jibbity jab has something in it, or you believe that the sickness is a farce. Whatever it is that you believe, they always try to brand you as either insane, angry, or violent. This guy has all three, and he claims the right. So if they can make enough of a hubbub about him, and they can bring up enough information, watch for a manifesto. If
Never
they
tell
can
us the
bring up enough
manifesto,
stuff,
right?
and you go hear him say Donald Trump this and Donald Trump that, watch, and they're gonna say, there comes the MAGA Republicans. Here's what we got to look out for. We cannot afford to have an open election because these people may show up and they don't like how you vote. They may kill you.
Their ideology is too dangerous.
It's too dangerous.
Allow democracy to thrive, right? And that's what it is. Our democracy. They'll say our democracy to thrive.
I mean, it was the same thing.
Republicans.
It was the same thing with the guy who supposedly tried to drive the truck through the White House that time. Remember, they laid out the flag,
the Nazi flag,
they
and
laid it out
everything
perfectly, and all the manifestos and the pro-Trump manifestos. But
and it was like an Indian immigrant.
Yeah.
Usually, the guy that wrote the manifesto is dead. So how do we know that he wrote this manifesto?
What's even better is it's always typed, right? It's never handwritten manifestos.
They always got the best.
Yeah. So
yeah, they always got the best typewriters.
Yeah, it's the same concept, like Marlon said. They're just it's getting close to election time, and if they can brand us all as insane people and crazy people, it's just to cause more division, you know, in our country. So
I mean, do they really need that one? Sorry, go ahead.
And you're gonna see it. Just like I said earlier, they said this guy followed Anon. So now what it's going to come down to is like, oh, if you see anybody posting anything about Q or anything that's about Anon, make sure you report it to the authorities because these people are crazy.
Yeah, just like the implementation of red flag laws and all that stuff. It's
exactly.
on top of it.
That's all it's going to be.
But at the same time, I'm okay with the division because we know that the division is ideological, and it's not necessarily based on. Well, it is based on ideology because here we are trying to regard the Constitution as the highest authority in the land, and you have these left-wing, you know, monkeys out there that are literally trying to destroy the very fabric of what makes the American society is.
That's why the left wants a civil war. Like everybody keeps saying that it's the right that wants it. And it's like, no, the left wants to institute a civil war so they can get rid of the Constitution. Right? You can suspend civil liberties if you're doing it to protect our democracy, right?
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of radical right-wingers out there with militias that are a threat to our democracy. Well, we have to eliminate the Constitution in order to get rid of militias, the Second Amendment and the First Amendment, because we can't have certain propaganda coming from the right-wing extremists, right? So in order to control the population, we have to institute martial law, which means you do not have the right to a speedy or fair trial, which just go down the list of the amendments and they'll start eliminating in order to protect our democracy.
Okay, what did Canada just do?
Yep.
What did Canada just implement? Their own form of disinformation campaign, right?
Yeah. They
we not follow them. We follow every one of Canada's move. We do second, right? Watch.
Exactly.
Watch.
Here's another thing that if you're not following Canadian news, you know, remember the trucker protest?
Yeah.
And how Trudeau enacted that emergency act in order to seize bank accounts and stuff like that. Well, their version of the Supreme Court says, hey, you know, that was kind of illegal. And he said, sue me over it. And that was basically it. They said, hey, that was illegal. You couldn't do that. And he says, I don't care.
That's Biden.
That's what he did. Like they knew they did wrong. They said he knew when he was enacting it was probably wrong and that it was illegal, but he did it anyway.
Right.
And that's exactly how the liberals act. No matter if it's good or bad, as long as it benefits them, even if it's illegal, they'll do it.
They'll do it.
I mean, we're talking about a country that has a human tribunal court system because some guy said a really nasty joke. I mean,
yeah.
So if America's headed down that way and people are for that, I'm okay with the disunity because I don't want to unify with that.
No, you can't. But they're not looking, and this is what I keep trying to tell people. The left is not looking for unification. Right. They're looking for compliance. They're looking for compliance. If you we're gonna tackle this on Friday. Trust me when I tell you we'll show you some absolutely insane things on Friday by people who we know for a fact they're paid by people who are high up on the left to say the things they're saying. But when you hear them discuss things to do with politics, they do not want middle ground. They want you to come to their side. They don't even care whether or not what your point of view has any validity, truth, fact behind it, they don't care. And the instant you don't want to join them, you're branded something, your name called, and you're threatened with bodily harm. When I keep telling people, stop trying to be their friend, everyone wants to come to talk to me about, we should love each other. No, I don't have to love evil, and I'm not going to love evil. I'm not going to participate with it, and you're not going to convert me to your stupidity. It's not going to happen. You want to murder babies, and you want to find middle ground with me? How? Nope.
Right.
Not going to happen. Not going. You want to demonize white people for something they never did, and you want me to side with you? Why? Not going to happen either. You want to call black conservatives all kinds of names and want them dead, but you want me to side with you?
Yeah.
You could miss me with that. You could completely miss me with that. I'm not friends with none of them. I'm not trying to make middle ground with nobody no more. Not happening. Not happening.
Well, they don't want to anyway. They don't want to make friends with you to begin with.
Right.
I mean,
So
why do you want to be friends with somebody that
you
wants
made an
you
enemy?
dead?
I'm your enemy, and I'll be happily be your enemy. I'll happily be your enemy. I have no problem with that. Because the thing is, if I'm going to compromise my own moral compass for the sake of friendship with you, you're not getting the real version of me. You're getting some other version of me. You're getting some fake thing that's going to end up having to backfire, because I'll either get frustrated with myself or I'll lose myself. In neither case do I want that outcome for me. But I must do it because you say so, and I don't. Who are you from Adam? You're nothing to me. The only people I ever placate to is my wife and kids, and even then I don't do that. Exactly, puppy. Right. Right. That's right. I'm not going to do that. So I'm not going to kowtow to you. I'm not going to placate to you. I have no friendship with you. I don't want to be a friend. I don't like you. I'm not supposed to like you. If you are involved with something stupid and evil, I'm not going to be your friend. I don't want to have to talk to you. I don't want to have to interact with you. I'm not going to give you nothing. You don't have my time. You don't have my attention. Nothing about you is appealing to me. So I'm not going to try and become your friend. That's not my role here. That's not my goal. I don't have to do that. You may feel that somehow you have something to offer me. Nothing you have to offer me is worth my time with you. It's not. And so if the more of us realize that these people have one goal and one goal only, and that's the destruction of mankind, when you see that, you'll understand why you cannot be friends with them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really a cut and dry situation as far as I'm concerned. Maybe you guys disagree, but
here's the thing: is like we can't be the ones to first fight or to cause violence, because that feeds into their narrative. That's the problem.
Oh no, you finished the fight though.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you cannot be the one that starts it first. Is all I'm saying. You cannot be, because if you do, it feeds into everything they've been saying. Oh, look how violent they are. Look how destructive they are. Yeah.
That's okay with me. At this point, I'm completely fine with you thinking I'm violent. Because if you think I'm violent, you're less prone to try something stupid with me.
Well, they're already doing stupid stuff by trying to kill us with 1,000 cuts. So
well, let them. Yeah. Hey, all I got to see is a little bit of blood.
Yeah, and that. Yeah, I'm just saying like I'm just saying like they're already the ones making the moves to fight, and they're the ones throwing the first punches, and so
but at the end of the day, we're never going to be in agreement with how they think and how we think. We people know this. We're never going to agree. But what people have to understand is that it doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter what you get. It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat and it doesn't matter a Republican. At the end of the day, all those people up top see us all exactly the same. They see us beneath them, all of us. It doesn't matter if you agree with this. It doesn't matter if you agree with that. If your politician agrees with. At the end of the day, if they wanted to do what they wanted to do and get what they want to get, we are all in the same boat. So you can agree. Okay, say you agree with abortion. You agree with it. Okay. Your politician that you voted for agreed with it. But the minute they flip that switch, they're not going to care if you agree with them. They don't care. And then that's the problem in our country is that, and we're all guilty of it, is that there's such a divide on ideologies. But if we all thought outside of that and just been like, at the end of the day, if they dropped a nuke on us right now, they're going to be in their bunkers and all of us are going to be out here together. So for me, the only way for people to come together is stop listening to these politicians. Stop talking about your views with people. It doesn't mean we have to be friends, but we all have a common goal. And I think our common goal is we want the government to leave us the hell alone. We want the government to do what's right for the people. We want the government to limit our taxes. We want the government to stop taking our money. I think we can all agree on those things. But it's these other things that we're never going to come together with. I'm not going to agree with abortion. I'm not going to agree with this. You know, let it be. You want to agree? You want to do that? Go over there. That's fine. That's your thing. So be it.
Here's the thing, Michael. The thing is that people on the left, they do want the government to tax us more. They do want more taxes.
Well, not every single one.
A lot of them do on social media.
A lot.
And that to me is the frightening thing that I want to be against. Is because those are the basic, simple civilization building blocks that either will make or break us. And if you have people on the left, a good majority of them saying, no, taxes are good. It's this socialist system that we all need because it's paying for roads and schools and blah 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 blah. It's just like, shut up. I can't unify with that.
Yeah.
I think the country is too bifurcated. I don't think it's ever gone back together.
Never. No.
The split and balkanization of the United States is too far gone. I don't think there's any way to reverse it anymore. Like we don't even see ourselves living in the same country, let alone agreeing on a basic ideology of what the United States is anymore.
Yeah.
Like we don't even share same cultural values anymore.
You know, I have a solution. We need to get rid of that term called the United States. I think every state should be sovereign. Let every state run their state how they want to run their state. And if you're not happy in the state you want to live in, go to another state that suits you. Because this whole United States thing isn't really working. You know, this state over here doesn't allow this. This state does. This state doesn't. This state does. And then the people that are living in this state don't agree with the rules that are here. But this state has rules opposite of it. But they don't want to leave this state. They want to change this state to be like this state. And the people in that state that have it are fighting back. They're always going to push back. And they're saying, leave us alone. If you don't like it, go over here. But we're not changing. That's what I think. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's the original idea of these United States was decentralized power in a small federal government, right? Mm-hmm. The centralized authority of the federal government, the federalists, the federation, as we would say, are the people that are running it now that have combined all of the powers into one central location, which is the federal government, right? Mm-hmm. Which is not what it was supposed to be. The states were supposed to be sovereign in a union of other sovereign states. The federal government was there for mutual defense, right? And to take care of certain things as a representative, just like you would a vote for a congressional member, right? Or appoint a senator, right? That's what the federal government was for the states. It was a representation of all the states together. It was not supposed to be a supreme authority over the states. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're totally apart on.
And you see that happening all the time. There could be Marlon lives in one state. You can have somebody all the way in another state that is crying about what's happening in this state when they don't even live in that state to be even worried about it. You see it with immigration. You got people all the way up in Chicago and New York before all these movements with immigrants started crying about Texas and these border states protecting their borders. But you live up here. Mm-hmm. So why are you worried about what they're doing down here? And I think if we got back to, like Coy said, got back to the states being sovereign, coming together for defense, then I think a lot more people would be happy. But the federal government is too powerful. You know, the executive is too powerful to where they can go to any state and implement what they think is good for every state when every state is separate. Even the cultures in that state are different.
It's more.
Yeah. Let me give you a historical example from Chinese history, right? So at a certain point, the centralized government was so bureaucratic that the eunuchs and everything else were in charge of everything. The emperor had no real power. It was all the bureaucrats that have the power. It's the same thing we're dealing with now, right? Is that there are a bunch of eunuchs running the show, right? While the emperor has no clothes. That's where we're at right now. Joe Biden is an emperor without clothes, and the bureaucrats are running everything. The eunuchs in the government are running absolutely everything and doing whatever they can to enrich themselves through corruption and power brokering.
Yeah. And no brain.
Right, and no brain. So so we have to dismantle the bureaucratic state. That's the reason why I like Vivek's plan a lot of breaking up the three-letter agencies, is because they are the reason for the bloating of the federal government to the point that it's its own monster. right? We have to kill the monster, which is the bureaucratic state that is running everything because the eunuchs are running the show and the emperor it doesn't have any clothes. That's what we need to be dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about it is this, right? As if we went back to the original state of the way it was supposed to be, I think we'd have a much better layout of how the country would run.
Yes.
You'd undo a lot of the things that were implemented as a form of control, including, like you said, those agencies. We would have to go, and I mean pre our very first stepping out into overseas wars.
Yeah,
behavior. I like that right at that point, before we even stepped out of bounds. That's what we need to go back to.
You need to repeal the authorization for force by the executive branch.
Every last bit. Anything that came as a result of us putting our foot in someone else's business needs to be gone. Just remove it. Now, I like the idea, bro, but I think that is the way it was supposed to be. And I think the uniting of the states, the way they title it, is mostly because we're one in our decision to be separate. And now it's no longer the case. Now we want to be one under one head, which is communism. That's as much as people don't want to admit that. You might say, no, it's different than socialism. It's communism. It's the red. Okay? You may not want to admit that, but that's what it is. You're just calling it something else, but what you're really wanting to do is put everything under the auspices of one person.
Yeah.
And that cannot work. It will never work. And so you've seen it over time, that does not ever work out for the benefit of the people that think that's what they want.
Never does.
And I don't know how people can't see this over time, but I understand that the people who have pushed this know how to make people stupid.
Anytime you centralize power and put absolute power in the hands of select individuals, they will always abuse that power.
Period.
That any time in history you look at it, it will always be the same. It does not change. We know this, but we still do it anyway.
Yeah,
isn't that insane? That's a definition of insanity, isn't it?
It is.
Oh yeah.
So America,
but you know, they sold us these United States of America. And yes, we are one as a people living on the same continent. But, you know, when you think about it, if I left Arizona and went to California, California has different laws. They have their own constitution. They have their own flag. So it's pretty much like you're going into another country, though it may mirror it. You know, the standard is the Constitution per se in California. Outside of that, the federal constitution, the big one that governs us all under that umbrella, they all have their own little constitution in there. You know, so what is the purpose of calling this the United States when everyone has their own rules when you go into those states, their own laws, everything when it comes to policing, everything? Why not just keep it separate? Just know when you go into California, these are the rules, man. You're not in Texas anymore. You're not in Arizona no more. Now people have an understanding like, okay, this is the country of California. I'm going into here. I'm visiting.
You know, I think the simplest way we can do is follow the left's example on this is start changing the way we say things. And the first one we should start changing is get rid of the United States, because that gives the power to the authoritarians in the central government. That is the federal government. We have to start saying these United States again. We have to say that these are separate sovereign states that believe in their own ways of doing things that are needing to have sovereign authority over themselves, because the states ultimately are the best gathering of people. The central government will never be able to appropriately deal with people from various states as they are now. We know this. They haven't been able to do that. Each state has to take care of its own.
And
so that's why we need to use these United States.
And that's something, you know, the next president should think about. I think if Donald Trump gets back in there, that's something he should push sovereign states. You know how many people will be really upset about that. Well, this state is richer than this one, and this state is richer than this one. And Donald Trump be like, my hands are off. You know, this is the state's issue. This is why we have senators. This is why we have governors. They need to govern their state.
Senators are meant to be representatives of the state. People tend to forget that because they changed it to a popular vote. senators were never supposed to be elected. They were always supposed to be selected from the representatives of the state. That's what it was supposed to be. So they're supposed to represent the state. Congressmen and women are supposed to represent the people in the central authority, which is the Fed.
Well,
and the Fed
been
represents
for a while.
the union of states.
It's going to come down. It's going to come down to our willingness to either fight or submit. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I told you that the left has no intention of unifying anybody, I will prove it to you, because when we talk Friday, you will understand where their stance really is. And I'm going to play you a snippet of what we're going to talk about Friday. Okay. So it's going to be, it's crazy people talk, but I want you to listen to it before we wrap up today. Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Imagine if you guys failed, but there's an element of individuals that exceed you in skill set that could possibly make it happen. And I'm not talking about Trump supporters. I'm just talking about motherfuckers who exceed you in a skill set. Cut off comms, cut off electricity, have high-powered weapons, whatever. No, this government cannot allow that. And you believe that he'll have another opportunity? No, it's not going to happen. And there's nothing you guys can do about it. He's not going to become the fucking president. Now, this is where it gets dark. If he does become the president, he will be assassinated. Because once again, under your own indoctrination and ideology, you believe that he runs the country. If Trump runs the country, yet again, proving that you guys don't know shit about government studies, because the president doesn't necessarily run the country. Collectively as a whole, that's the governor of respective states' job. The president doesn't do anything for people. The president's role is to ensure foreign relations, uphold the integrity of this country to remain a fucking superpower. And you honestly believe a guy that had a whole fucking house full of classified information is fulfilling that obligation? Abso-fucking-lutely not. The government, being in the proxy war with China, on the brink of another war with other countries, is not going to allow a guy who had a fucking house full of classified information to control this fucking country.
Now, I find it ironic that he left out the garage, but hey, oh, and the office with documents. I'm surprised he left those out, but he's, it's all about Trump. But if you heard carefully,
yeah.
I hope, hopefully everyone, but he doubled down on that in another video, which you will hear on Friday as well. About it's not just assassination will happen. In the other video, which you will hear Friday, he's talked about being a part of it. I just want people to understand that this is what they do. Okay? This is what they do. This is how they are. Which is why when they call for peace, they're not calling for peace. They're calling for compliance. That individual that you saw there, if you're not familiar with him, he is all over TikTok, and he has always been a purveyor of violence, either for rape. And I mean this in literal terms. He's called for the rape of females. He's called for the beheading of females. He's called for the murder of females. He is a violent individual with a lot of mental problems. And I mean a myriad of mental problems, probably because he dealt with the dead as a mortician in the military. I don't know what caused him to snap, but he does not have his mental faculties. But he is exactly the epitome of people on the left. He's the embodiment of it. So when you see what we have to show you on Friday, man, you'll understand why we're not calling for unity with these people. You will get a full picture as to why we're not going to find peace or middle ground or even a conversation. They don't want any one of those things. And so we'll cover that on Friday. Yeah, he has a potty mouth, but like I said, it's not my mouth, so that's his. But you have to understand their viewpoint, the way they say things. It's for them. Okay, so but it gives a clear picture of who they are. Saturday we will have a Rumble event, and we will kind of dive into some stuff that's more. I wouldn't call it conspiracy at this point. Everything's real. We're gonna dive
prehistorians.
Into
remember, that's what we call it. Prehistorians.
Yeah, prehistorian stuff. We're gonna dive into some stuff that possibly could happen in the next coming months. That's has to do with what they can do to shut us down. So we'll discuss that. Make sure you're here on Saturday. But we'll be back Friday to talk about him and 2 other people that have the same ideology and mindsets as Mr. Matthew there. That's his actual name, Matthew. Goes by the name of Eddie Brock or sometimes Jean Grey's dad or some. He's a comic book clown, and he thinks he's some sort of a big man. So he thinks what size he has is all muscle, but it's actually all fat. So who's checking?
Jean Grey's dad.
Yeah. We talked about that video earlier, Marlon. That's just cringy to me. I just laughed at him, and I was thinking about it last night when you sent it to me. And I was thinking about it. I was just like, oh my God, this guy. So I can't wait for Friday. I can't wait for Saturday too. And I hope he's watching.
He gonna sue me to get my channel shut down. That's what he told me one time.
Yeah, he ain't getting nothing shut down.
He said, "Don't you mention my name without my permission." Sorry, Jack.
I'm gonna mention. We're gonna mention your name. Yeah, and you ain't gonna do nothing
about it. We're gonna talk about you.
Maybe
if you don't want anybody to talk about you, stay off the internet. That's man. Right. Okay. Go back to the gym or something. Drink some protein shake or something. Get some Parmesan cheese out the carpet like your boyfriend. In either case, we will catch up on Friday.
He's a cosplayer.
And we're going to talk about that and just make sure you prep your Saturday to see us here on Rumble. Mr. Lee, you're muted.
Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you Friday and Saturday, y'all. Peace.
There you go.